Hi everyone, welcome to this webinar. This is our second webinar in the series. And if some of you have seen our previous webinar, this is a continuation of that webinar, okay? So in this webinar, we will see what is DevOps and what it takes to be a DevOps professional, okay? Because DevOps is one of the highest technology area that is in demand. And I have with me Abhijit and Gayatri. So let me introduce myself. I am Sri Prakash. You can call me Sri. And all your questions during this webinar, you can type it in the chat window and we'll watch. Abhijit and Gayatri also will be watching and we'll address them. And towards the end of the webinar, we will have a few minutes to also separately answer these questions. Okay, so once again, welcome to the webinar. And let's go through some of the slides. So this is, I have with me Gayatri and Abhijit. They both are cloud architects with 12 plus years of experience. And they will also be assisting us in this webinar. Okay, but I'll be initially introducing all of you about what is DevOps, and about myself. I have 40 plus years of experience. So I have seen the industry, how it evolved over a period of these years and how important DevOps is these days. Okay, so if you have no idea about DevOps, please do not worry. By end of the webinar, you will know what is DevOps and what it takes to be one. Okay, again, this is me. I have 4 Amazon certifications at this time. And first, let's look at some of the points. So these are the points that we are going to see. First, so first we will see the objectives of the webinar and why we are conducting such a webinar and how it is going to be useful for each one of you. And yes, Abhijit and Gayatri can also start your video, okay? And then we will see the essentials of a DevOps engineer. That is the basics, what you need to know apart from the core DevOps technologies. What are the basic essentials that you need to study? And then we will see what is cloud and how cloud helped, or the evolution of cloud helped in making DevOps more popular, or DevOps even possible. And then we will go deeper into DevOps. But this webinar is a high-level webinar to make you understand what is DevOps. So there are no demonstrations, but subsequent webinars, we'll take each technology that is a part of DevOps and go deeper into them and see how it works. So in this webinar, we will see what these technologies are and how it contributes to DevOps. Then we will see our future webinar planning, and then we will have time for Q&A. Okay, so once again, welcome. So initially, we are going to see the essentials. Now the essential is, see, it all depends on our systematic, dedicated work. Now he's someone whom I closely follow. His name is David Goggins. He has got multiple Guinness records, and he is an incredible person to follow, so that if you want to be systematic and to be able to accomplish anything, he is someone who can follow. He has written a book, You Can't Hurt Me. Okay. So what happens to the selection process? Now, we all know campus selection. You know how companies come to your campus and then conduct different types of tests, like aptitude, analytical, quantitative, then interview, group discussion. They do series of tests and evaluate your performance and select a few. And once you're out of the campus, what happens? The selection process changes. When you're out of the campus and when you are applying for interviews, companies don't come to you, you go to these companies. So there is a difference. So when you go to a company based on an advertisement or a vacancy, you are competing indeed with numerous different types of people from different colleges, different experiences. So there, initially you may not know how to compete, how to perform well, how you can get selected. But in your campus, when they come, you know how is your performance with respect to your colleagues, etc., etc. So you know the possibility or probability of getting into a company. So now this selection process is going to change, especially with this lockdown and COVID-19, etc. Companies, the campuses are now closed. We don't know when it will open. So the selection is also going to be online. So we will also talk about how you need to make your presence more visible and more attractive in the online, because before they approach you or when they approach you, they will do a background check and see what is your online presence and how you are keep maintaining your profiles, etc. So we'll also touch upon those topics. So the selection process is going to be remote. So you need to know how you need to ready yourself to present yourself on a remote interviewer, so that you can give them the links to your work, etc. They can check. Okay, so this is an example. LinkedIn, you may have heard, LinkedIn is a very important professional social media platform where you need to create your profile and make sure that you update your profile with all your new studies and accomplishments, because that is where they companies can find you. Okay, so if your profile is good with sufficient technical content, companies will also approach you for employment. Okay, so the essentials. Now, apart from that, you also need to understand some core technology. That is what we are going to see now. Okay, so let's look at them. One is, you know this logo. This logo is of Linux. Linux is an operating system created by Linus Torvalds. It's an amazing operating system. It is extremely popular. And now, as of this year, January, that is 2020 January, 100% of the supercomputers use Linux. Okay, so can you think of internet existing without Linux? Absolutely not. And do you believe this? 96.3% of the top 1 million web servers are running Linux, or web servers are running on Linux operating systems. And remaining 3.7% is being shared by Windows and others. Okay, and most of the top platforms that we interact or use, they're all running on top of Linux operating systems. So it is extremely important that if you want to pursue a technology career, you need to be really comfortable with Linux. When I say comfortable, you should know how to install the operating system. You should know how to optimize. You should know how to install different applications on top of your operating system, etc., etc. Okay, so that is important. So first essential thing that you need to spend your time on once you're out of the campus, once you're out of your studies, is understand Linux and experiment with Linux operating system really well. Okay, and so the bare necessities that you need to understand are, of course, Linux, and then Windows. Windows, mostly we all use it for our day-to-day usage. So we are okay with Linux, and that is, I mean, Windows, and that is good enough for now. You also need to study Linux shell scripting. And when I say study, just spend few days or few hours. You can always apply the 80-20 principle. That is, if you want to learn something, if you want to master something 80% well, you only need to study 20% of it. So don't say, oh, bash scripting is too complicated, too confusing. Just study 20% so that you can begin using it. Then of course Python, then Windows PowerShell, and also PHP. All these tools don't take time. Then you also should have extremely clear understanding of what is HTTP, what is a web server, and of course HTML, CSS, JavaScript, which are front-end web technology or programming or styling applications. Then you also need to learn what is SSH, how to access a remote server. So, and then of course database, when I say database, you should also know what is an SQL database or SQL database, or what is a NoSQL database. And here again, just spend one or 2 days in understanding what these technologies are. So somebody asks you in an interview, do you know this? You cannot say, I don't know this. That is, you just need to spend few days understanding these tools. Okay, so when you apply for an interview, be 100% ready from your side, covering all these tools that I'm covering. So after this webinar will also be available in YouTube. So you must keep this as a reference, because after a few minutes, I'll be talking about what is DevOps and what it takes to be one. So those 10-15 minutes are critical, because such explanation you may not find anywhere. So those explanations are coming from my years of experience, because I find that these professionals, they know these technologies, these tools very well, but they don't know how it fits into a bigger picture. So what is critical is, you should know what is DevOps and why there is a thing called DevOps existing in its place. So that foundational understanding is what is missing. Those training houses which are training these DevOps tools, they teach you, but they don't tell you how it fits in a real life scenario in an organization. So that is what we will try to simplify and explain. Okay, so now let me tell you, there are no shortcuts to any place worth going. We are talking of a technology area which is highest paying, that is $100,000 to $150,000 a year in an average salary in the US market. And it needs systematic hard work. Okay, there is absolutely no shortcut. So your passion and dedication and systematic approach is all that is required. Okay, so, and once you get into DevOps, you will feel, if you are passionate about technology, you will find that it is extremely challenging and interesting and adventurous. And that freedom comes through discipline. So discipline is not lack of freedom. Discipline is something that gives you freedom or makes you free. Okay, so now let's look at quickly spend few minutes understanding. So now this is a foundational webinar where I'm assuming that you have no idea about what is DevOps or what are the tools that are behind DevOps. So typically a computer has hardware and software. I'll just run through quickly because this is a repetition of our previous webinar. So when we say hardware, you have these things like CPU, motherboard, memory, disk space, and so disk space, CPU, and memory, these three things, then network adapters, etc. And some 10-20 years ago, another thing became popular, that is called uh, virtualization. That is, typically, let me see, yes. Okay, let me change the color. Yeah. So, okay, yeah. Uh, just a second. Sorry, I'm not able to move. Okay, so typically a computer has uh, an operating system that is running, and on top of that you can run multiple operating systems. That is called, that technology is called virtualization. So virtualization lets you run multiple operating systems side by side. So if you have a Windows laptop or desktop, you can run a Linux machine on top of it, multiple Linux machines on top of it. Now, this virtualization is actually a, a computer simulated using software. So if you want memory, if you want disk space, if you want CPU, you all define that in the virtualization software itself. So with the popularity of virtualization, software became hardware became software. So from now onwards, you will not have to buy hardware or buy extra memory, buy disk space. You will all define these hardware requirements using software definitions or variables. This such a provider is called a cloud provider. So cloud provider is nothing but a service, a company that gives you, or company that lets you create computers using the virtualization technology online by using software definitions. So if you look at a cloud service provider, they can give you storage space, they can give you mobile interfaces like push notifications, etc. Everything that we see, we use now is coming from some cloud provider. But when you hear cloud provider, don't think that it is some complicated thing somewhere sitting somewhere in the cloud. Nothing. It is just internet. Internet is nothing but interconnected networks. Cloud provider is just nothing but offering thousands of servers with some web interface which lets you log in and create your computer, virtual machines. So essentially everything that happens now happens through such cloud providers. And we have three leading cloud providers, that is Amazon Web Services, which is number one, then Microsoft Azure, which is catching up, and then we also have Google Cloud Platform. They are the three big cloud providers. Okay, so now this cloud gives huge opportunities. And when you hear the word cloud, remember there is nothing hardware, everything is software. So when you can define, when you can create computer using software, can you think of the possibilities it can offer? Anyone? You can type your answer in the chat window. Initially, see, 10, 15 years ago, if you want to create or install a computer, you need to order a computer, order a server. They come with the server, install it, connect network, etc., etc. But those are all gone. It is all through software. So what happens? Anyone? Any guess? It gives huge possibility. That is, you can create a computer when you want it. You can destroy a computer when you don't want it. That is, say for instance, a holiday season like Diwali, Christmas, etc., when the sales are very high, very different. Exactly, Ria. It saves cost. So whenever you want, you can provision computers when the load is high, like Amazon shopping cart or Flipkart or Snapdeal. When the load is high, you can create more computers to serve the increasing or increased users. And when the load is low, you can reduce it. This was never possible 10, 15 years ago. So the situation has changed. Are you getting what I'm saying? Now, this is where a new type of requirement started coming up. That is cloud solutions architect. And of course, it is now onto DevOps professional as well. So we will see how it is evolving into DevOps. So now let's look at what is DevOps. So DevOps is something related to automation. It is an infinite loop of building software and deploying it to the end user. So I will spend say maybe 10 minutes on explaining the theory behind DevOps, and that explanation will help you. And so please listen carefully, and maybe you can watch later on the YouTube recording when we publish it in a day or two. So DevOps has series of events happening. So let me try to draw and explain this. Let's see how it works. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. So normally you have your, let me, yeah. Normally you have your, say, laptop where you sit and develop your software. And what is a software? Software is nothing but a text file containing your source code, right? Now you will run the software on your computer and it is working fine. But your goal is to let this software be deployed onto some machine which is accessible globally, so that thousands of users around the world can access. So what will you do? You will do something to copy the software that you wrote onto some remote machine. Okay, remote machine, we can call this machine a server. Okay, server. And this remote machine is connected to the internet, and thousands of users around the world can access your software from any part of the world. Is this clear to all of you? This is the picture that a fresher from the college will clearly understand. Agreed? Any question on this picture? This is clear, because this next few minutes you should always remember. That is why I'm drawing it, so that your mind is going to be closely following what I'm drawing. Okay, so any software that you build finally has to be loaded onto some remote machine so that it can be accessed by thousands of users. Now, this is not that simple when the software becomes very big. When the software becomes very big, you don't directly load the software onto end user. There will be thousands of developers like you building different sections of the software. Okay, so there will be thousands, if not more, thousands of developers building some aspect of a big application. So if it is an Amazon shopping cart, somebody will be doing the design front end, somebody will be working on the database, somebody will be working on the order processing, checkout, etc., etc. Finally, anytime you make a change, you will do an operation called commit. Okay, it's called commit. Commit is nothing but an operation. in software version control, and the most popular software version control tool is called Git. Okay, so you will push your software changes onto a version control application called Git. Okay, and then from there, some build engineer, which used to be very popular, build engineer will pull it and assemble all the components each of these developers created. Okay, so this operation is called build operation. Okay, after building, uh, they will, another testing department will do a testing. Okay, so there is another testing person who will test, and finally there will be an acceptance test and maybe security audit, etc. And then finally another department like operations department, ops, will load it onto the server. Now here what happens is, it may not be one server. Depending on the load or depending on the season, you may need thousands of servers. You may need thousands of servers. So what happens is, with the popularity of internet and cloud, developers are in thousands, and the target machines or web servers or servers are also in thousands. So you need to have a way of automating this entire process. That is called DevOps. So what DevOps essentially is, when you build a, when you make some changes to the software section that you are building, when you push or commit the code, this will trigger the process, and finally software reaches the target machine. All these people are losing their jobs. So industry is moving on into a state where testing engineers are losing job, build and release engineers are losing jobs in thousands, and they need few DevOps engineers. So every organization will require thousands of developers. Of course, they are needed, and then they need few DevOps engineer. And it is very, very difficult to find DevOps engineer, because this automation will also need experience. So even if you study these tools well, you may, without actual experience, you may not be able to implement such DevOps automation in an organization. Okay, so that is in a nutshell what DevOps is. Any questions on DevOps? So it has got numerous aspects, and it is a continuous process. It's never ending. So this automation will always go through improvements. There will be new features, new bugs. There will be performance issues, performance upgrades required. So continuously, this DevOps automation is improving, reducing cost and improving performance. Now, along with DevOps, you will also see two important terminologies. That is what we will see now. That is a continuous integration. You will see the vacancies for DevOps engineer. You will also see vacancies for continuous integration engineer, or CI or CI/CD engineers. So they are all similar, very similar. Continuous integration, the professional will collect all the commits from all the developers and assemble the application so that it can be tested. Like a big application, each developer will be building small subsets of the application. Then finally, when you assemble, then only you can see a full application that is functional. Then only you can do complete acceptance tests. So that is called continuous integration. And continuous delivery means after that you can deploy the application to production. When we say production, their target machines or web servers or servers. Then continuous deployment also deploy to production, but there is a difference between continuous delivery and continuous deployment. That is, continuous delivery, after acceptance test, you will deploy to production manually, and in continuous deployment you will deploy it. Even deployment also is automated. So why there is a word continuous in all these three cases? Any guess? Anyone? Continuous means, if you look back maybe 10-15 years ago, software updates used to happen once in 3 months, once in 6 months. Remember? But nowadays, do you see such a thing? Updates happen without even you noticing it. So when you can update software continuously, that is when this continuous word is used. And what is triggering this change? Any developer making any change to the software, when he or she commits the change to the version control system, that triggers the entire pipeline, and the application, if applicable, will get deployed to production. So it is as simple as that. So today I get a feedback and I am a developer, I make a change and I commit it without any manual intervention. My change will be reflecting on thousands of web servers, or all the users will see the change. Okay, so that is DevOps. Now, what it takes to be a DevOps engineer? DevOps engineer will need to understand certain things. Like, DevOps engineer should also think like a developer, because DevOps is actually automating or supporting or streamlining the development process. So you need to know what are the requirements of a developer, how developers work, or what platform they use, how they build, how they test, how they run their applications. So you need to have a cursory understanding of common tools which are used by developers, which is called full stack. Full stack will mean the entire tool set required for a complete application. Okay, so now, in order to be a DevOps engineer, you need to understand a list of tools. So I have listed the tools where Gayatri and Abhijit will come and talk about each of these tools, so that you have an idea. So now, before I hand over the presentation to Abhijit and Gayatri, let me just revise. So I have already told you, you have to learn Linux. You also have to learn bit of basic programming languages. You need to learn full stack. And I have also told you what is DevOps. DevOps is nothing but an automation which allows continuous deployment of application to the end user. Okay, so what I will do is, I have a few slides. I will switch the slides. So this is, say, full stack. Say, Gayatri, do you want to talk of what is full stack?
Yeah, I can tell a little bit about that. Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Gayatri, and let me just tell you a little bit about what's full stack development. Before that, is there anybody? You can type in your messages in the public chat. You don't have to send it to me privately, but anybody who's born before 1990? Anybody in this group born before 1990? I don't want to know your age. I just need to know if you're born before 1990. Other than Abhijit. I see a couple of names in the list. I don't see all the names. Govardhan is there, Namrata is there, Riya is there. So Riya, Govardhan, Namrata, are you all freshers or how is it? You can type in the chat window. Type it in the chat window. Riya, Agarwal, Namrata, and Govardhan. Fresher? All right, no problem. Okay, so freshers, excellent. Okay, so full stack development is basically very similar to the projects that you do in for your engineering or for your MCA. That you do everything. That is, you set up your servers, you do the development, you do the database, you do the design, you do the delivery, everything for your project, just like what you did for your engineering. If you did a web project for your engineering or you did a programming project for your engineering, everything required for the project, you need to know something. Even if you don't know everything, but you need to know something. That is called a full stack developer. He knows, a full stack developer, he or she knows everything about every aspect of the project. That's the diagram that Sri showed. So he knows a little bit of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, some backend languages like PHP, Java, Python, Node, a little bit of database like MySQL or NoSQL, some database, little bit of server, so Linux, shell scripting, so everything. So if you were the only person working on your project, you can imagine, then you are a full stack developer. That is, you know end to end about a project. Now, the reason why you need to be a full stack developer or you need to have an idea is because when you design a DevOps pipeline, so that is when you design the flow from the developer, so the developer will develop the project and you need to take that project and put it onto the server. Basically, that is what Sri has been talking about so far. How to take the code from the developer's laptop and put it into the production server. That's what we want to do. And what are the steps to do that safely, to do that? So if you want to design those steps, you need to understand everything. You need to understand what is required as a database person, what is required as a developer, what is required as a front-end designer. You need to understand these things so that when you design this flow, you don't get stuck. You understand when I come as an operations or when I come as a systems administrator and I tell you that I need the code to come in this way, or I need the project to come in this format, or I need you to access using this code, then you should understand what the systems administrator is rating. Or if the developer says that this is a Java project, so you need to build it. I need a build step. So then you need to understand what does build mean. Yeah. So that is why you need to be a full stack developer. So full stack developer is basically somebody who understands the whole process of the project from the development to the deployment. And that is everything. So if you see this the picture that Sri is shown here, you see a lot of tools listed, and these are all the tools. Some of them are front-end tools like you have your Ajax, CSS and HTML, and some of them are your back-end tools like a PHP, Python, and then of course you have your underlying hardware like your AWS, Azure, Google, and so on. So that's basically what a full stack developer is, and why do you need to understand everything in a full stack.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And let's move on. And when you see all these tools, don't think that you need to know deeper into any of these. You just need to understand how these tools are being used by the developers. So now there is one tool which is the core for the entire DevOps operation. I remember DevOps is something that is automating or something that is chaining all these individual operations. Okay, so there is one tool that is called Jenkins. So I can ask Abhijit to talk a few minutes.
Yes, thanks, Sri. And hello everyone, my name is Abhijit, and let me briefly give you an idea about what is Jenkins. So earlier Sri mentioned about continuous integration and continuous deployment or delivery. So basically our goal as a DevOps professional will be to move the code that is developed by the developer and deploy it on a server so that the end user can use your application. So basically you are deploying your application, and this process you want to automate as much as possible so that you will be able to continuously make changes, and those changes can be continuously made available to your end user. Because if you are making some change and if it is only available on your machine and it takes say 1 year to bring it to the customer, by that time the trend would have changed. So whatever you have developed, it would have gone out of the market. So there is no use in developing something if you can't make it available to the end user as soon as possible. And that is where the continuous integration or CI/CD tools like Jenkins come into play. Okay, so there are lots of continuous integration tools like Jenkins, Travis CI, etc. available in the market. But Jenkins is the most popular tool or continuous integration tool that is available. And with the help of Jenkins, you will be able to integrate with most of the tools that you use as a DevOps professional. Like your version controlling tool, you will be able to integrate it with. You will be able to integrate it with your configuration management tools. You will be able to integrate it with your cloud platform so that all the process can be automated in a smooth and continuous manner so that you don't have to perform the same action multiple times in order to bring your application into the market. So that is a very brief idea about a continuous integration tool, which is Jenkins. And it is a very powerful tool. It is written in Java, and it is like really interesting once you start learning Jenkins.
Okay, so thank you, Abhijit. Yeah. Let's move on now. So that is Jenkins. So Jenkins is a tool that automates the pipeline end to end. Okay, now there is another technology that you may not have heard that is called Docker. Anyone here who has heard of Docker? Anyone? Okay, now let me quickly tell you. Initially, I mentioned that an operating system can be installed as a software on top of, on another machine using a technology called virtualization. That is, virtualization lets you divide a computer into smaller units, which each of those units will behave like a complete computer. But virtualization technology has certain drawbacks. One is it actually divides the space of the host machine. It divides the memory, divides the CPU, etc., etc. That is not an intelligent way of dividing. Okay, so if you have an 8 GB RAM on your machine, if you create a 2 GB virtual machine, it will actually block the 2 GB from the host machine. So the number of actual virtual machines that you can run on one physical machine is limited when you use the virtualization technology. But another technology called container or LXC or LXD container technology allows you to create truly virtual machines, which will not block the actual parent machine's resources. So you can run much more independent, isolated operating systems on top of a host machine. And Docker further improved the container technology and made much more lighter virtual machine-like units. So Docker is extremely popular. So just learning Docker itself will tremendously enhance your employability. Okay, so Docker is, when someone asks you what is Docker, you can say that it is a lightweight virtualization technology which uses containers. And then we have another technology which is again the hottest technology called Kubernetes. Kubernetes is something that lets you run thousands of Docker containers across machines. And when you learn DevOps, Docker, you will understand the importance of Kubernetes. Okay, and we will also have subsequent webinars where we will explain how, or demonstrate how this Kubernetes is going to work. Then another tool that we need to learn is called Nagios. Okay, now this is a monitoring tool. When you run your application on thousands of machines, it is next to impossible for you to monitor each individual machine and see if the load is high, if disk space is sufficient, if the memory of that machine is sufficient to run your application, or if there is any failure. All these things will have to be centralized into a dashboard, like monitoring environment. That is what Nagios offers. So it is a kind of centralized monitoring mechanism which lets you view, and it also gives you alert if something goes wrong. So you can set the thresholds. Whenever it breaches those thresholds, it will alert you so that you can relax and wait for Nagios to alert you. Okay, then there are some configuration management tools, and these are top 4 tools: Ansible, Chef, Puppet, and SaltStack. Out of that, Ansible is the number 1 or most used and easier to begin with. So, and this tool is used to configure thousands of machines. So, for example, if you have 1,000 web servers running, and there is a new update on a web server, currently you are running say 2.2.3 version, and there is a new version 2.2.4, how do you update all these 1,000 machines? You need some kind of an automated mechanism to update. So Ansible or Chef or Puppet or SaltStack helps you to automate these configurations or reconfigurations or updations of these target machines. So knowing Ansible or Chef or Puppet or SaltStack alone could fetch you a job, maybe, but now with the popularity of DevOps, demand is shifting over to DevOps. Okay, and of course you need to know at least one of the top cloud providers. I mentioned earlier, there are 3 top cloud providers: AWS, Azure, and Google Compute Platform. You should know one of these really well. When I say really well, you should know how to configure, you should know how to backup and restore, you should know how to auto scale, etc. We will also have our series of webinars on these. Okay, so that is about cloud. And to summarize, DevOps, in order to be a DevOps engineer, you need to spend a couple of weeks to understand what is full stack development. Then you need to understand the set of tools like Git, Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Nagios, Ansible, and one of the cloud platform. These are bare necessities, and based on my personal experience, I have conducted. I offer my interview services for organizations. So I have interviewed thousands of professionals. Most of the DevOps interviews, these are the core technologies that we focus on. Okay, and understanding why these technologies are there, that is equally important than knowing each of these technologies deep. Of course, knowing them deep will help, but you should know how it is used. in the production scenario. So again, some slides to motivate you. Do something that you don't like every day. So if you don't like programming or don't like front end, etc., every day spare 2 minutes to understand and master. That is the only way to master something difficult. Okay, and there are no excuses. You are responsible for your success. And what I've seen is, systematically, if you approach your journey, you can be continually on the edge of technology. See, Abhijit and Gayatri are also an example. They are one of the top professionals, cloud architects and DevOps professionals available currently in the globally. We train organizations, large organizations, okay, Fortune 500 organizations. We conduct our training. So I am one of the oldest IT professional, and I'm still learning, and I'm still passionate about these technologies. Okay, so now coming to our future webinars, we have another webinar coming up on 30th June, which is about how to become a cloud engineer. So we will focus on AWS, because there is no need to study AWS and Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure and Google Compute platform. You need to only know one. So we will talk about what it takes to be a cloud professional. So that covers our 3 top level webinars. First webinar was what are the 3 core technologies that you need to focus on, or what are the 3 top technologies and which you can pick. That is machine learning, DevOps, and cloud. So this webinar is on DevOps, and next one is on cloud, and next month in July we will have on machine learning. Okay, so remember, be 100%, be ready to be number 1 in your field. Okay, so and it is okay, you make a list of things that you don't know and face it. Systematically approach them. You can't pretend in an interview. You can't pretend that you know, because interviewer will easily make out. Okay, so the harder you work, and hard work is the other name for being lucky. And of course, number 1 is an odd number, and you have to be the odd one to excel. So any scenario, even lockdown, you can be number 1. Okay, so let's quickly look at before we get into our Q&A minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free to type it in the chat window so that we can address them. And remember, start polishing your LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is a professional social media platform, and you can also join myself, Abhijit, and Gayatri. You can search our names and you will find them. We have thousands of connection professionals, organizations, etc. It will help you so they can find you. And you should have your GitHub account. And GitHub is where you store your experiments and code that you try out. You should have your own cloud account. Most of these cloud providers provide free cloud accounts. You should sign up for their free cloud accounts so that you can begin your experiments. And then you can also write articles so that when you approach companies, you can also put links to your articles in your resume. So once you are out of the campus, your biodata will start shrinking. If you are out of the campus for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, everyone will ask you what you have been doing for last 6 months. You can't say I've been searching for job. Of course you need to search for job, but you also need to study and upgrade yourself. So that, and writing articles, and also studying and getting yourself certified. Most of these certifications are extremely good. Docker, Kubernetes, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, these certifications really add value to your qualification. Then you should also have real good experience on running projects. So we are planning a kind of internship where we train and make you do projects. So we are launching a webinar, internship, which runs from say 4 to 6 months, depending on your experience. So you learn and work with us on an internship mode for online remote, so that you get to learn as well as you get guidance to do projects, so that by end of these 4 or 6 months you will really gain experience and you can put those experiences in your biodata. Because what is missing in present day freshers, when they come out of the college, they don't have experience. They can learn, of course, from online training companies, but they don't really have the confidence because they have not actually applied those learning in projects. So that is what we are planning to do. And of course, it is systematic approach and comfort zones. There are no comfort zone. You have to be comfortable in being uncomfortable, because DevOps is also extremely challenging and adventurous journey. Every day is a new challenge for DevOps. So that is in a nutshell. So we can get into our Q&A session. I am Sri Prakash. This is this link, sri.cc/Sri, has more information about me, and my LinkedIn is this, sri.cc/LN. And I am also a runner. I run a marathon this year, before the COVID lockdown. I was in Mumbai running Mumbai Marathon. Okay, so Gayatri and Abhijit will handle questions. If you have questions, please feel free to type it in the chat window. And Abhijit and Gayatri, anything you want to add to what I have said?
Yeah, only one thing. Like when you're working as a DevOps professional, you have to remember that everything is continuous. Like you can't say like, okay, I have used DevOps for say 1 month or 1 week. You can't say that, because once you start using DevOps, it is a continuous process. You should always use that. That is how organizations grow. Because if they stop using it, that means they are not making use of the advantages that are provided by DevOps. And another thing is, like Sri mentioned, there are lots of tools that are available in the market which can be used during the DevOps process. There are lots and lots, so like for different areas, like say virtualization or versioning, or across different areas, we have lots of tools that are available. So if you know one tool in one area, then you will be able to easily work on other tools as well, because you will know the concepts that are required to work in that particular set of tools. Okay, and one more thing I would like to add is, like DevOps is like a culture. Like it is not a predefined set of processes that you should do. It is a culture. So if you want to improve your productivity, then you have to implement a culture so that all the communication between the developers and the operations team, all those things will be smoother, leading to better productivity. Ultimately, that is the aim of an organization, right?
Yes. Thank you. Gayatri?
I think basically all the points have been covered. Just focus on automation and you should be good.
Yes. So now here we have the link. So if you visit sri.cc, the menu itself, we have our internship. So any of you wanting to spend intense 4 to 6 months to gain the learning as well as gain the experience, you can apply for this internship. This internship has got a screening process where we do some basic evaluation to evaluate that you are able to, or you are willing to undergo the pressure of studying all these tools, and also be able to build the projects that we assign to you during the internship. So at the end of the internship, you get a course completion certificate as well as an experience certificate. Okay, so thank you all for your participation. It's 9 o'clock. So see you after say 10 days on 30th. We have our cloud webinar. Okay,
thanks,
so
everyone. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Gayatri. Thanks, Abhijit. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Namrata.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.